Warning, the following video contains spoilers. If you don't want this episode spoiled for you, switch the video off now. Another review by me that isn't using my camera because my camera has sadly died. Yep, it has kicked the bucket, and now for the foreseeable future it's going to be all audio, baby, until I get myself a new camera. So to actually discuss the thing that we are all here to see, the thing we're all here to discuss, My Hero Academia, Unforeseen Hope. Yeah, I really don't get the title of this one, I simply do not. Maybe it's something that's lost in translation, or maybe it makes sense within the story itself, but because I watch it subtitled, it got lost on me. You know what, I don't honestly know. But what about you, dear viewer, before we get too far into the review? What did you think about this week's episode of My Hero Academia? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Comment down below and let me know. Be sure to like this video, click the bell, subscribe, and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do, because YouTube is a very, very scary place, particularly to small content creators. But now, back to our scheduled programming. Yeah, I don't get the title of this one bit. Maybe it's lost in translation, maybe it's something that's within the subtitles themselves I just didn't get. There ain't nothing hopeful with this week's episode of My Hero Academia, not at all. You got heroes getting shanked left, right and centre. You got some of them getting almost straight up murdered, mangled and crippled. So the idea that there's something hopeful and unforeseen hopeful just feels odd to me. It's a title like The Phantom Menace, which doesn't really make sense within the context of the thing that it's actually titled for, but whatever, that's a whole other discussion. Maybe this title makes sense if they're suggesting that Night Eye's visions of the future are far more malleable and changeable than he believes them, because in this episode he says that he had a vision of him and Midoriya dying, which, unsurprisingly, bearing in mind Midoriya is the main character of the program, means that this vision is unsurprising bullshit, and as such the future can be changed and altered, and that means that All Might might not die a horrible death after all. Hey, the future isn't set in stone, the future is whatever you make of it. Thank you, Doc Brown. However, I feel that if that indeed was the case, and I'm kind of confused as to why they didn't make more of that in the episode itself. Let's be blunt, anime loves its big, long exposition dumps. It likes its prolonged and elongated explanations of stuff. So I'm surprised that they didn't even just make a fleeting mention of it. Not even just Sir Night Eye saying, "Whoa, my visions of us dying never happened. That means the the future can be changed. The future can be changed. Oh my god!" That's all we really needed, just a quick line to acknowledge that his visions of the future can be changed, that the future can be changed, and that's information that they can explore later on. Though I do imagine that this will be something that will be explored and discussed more in next week or maybe the week after. This is the 6th week on this very specific part of the story arc, the "we've got to save Eri" subplot. 6 weeks we've been doing this. Next week will be the 7th week, and realistically it won't be quote-unquote done until the 8th week. Make of all that what you will. I've said repeatedly that this has started to feel very much like the planet Namek is going to blow up in 5 minutes pick from Dragon Ball Z. Though with that said, it's felt a little bit more obnoxious here because it has just been a lot of the same episode. A lot of people running down corridors and having flashbacks and flashbacks and just running down corridors and getting into fights and stuff. Thankfully we didn't really have much of that this week, and in the end of the day, you know, I feel that this story arc isn't going to be done by week 7 or week 8. I have this sinking suspicion that they're probably going to have to save Eri again by the end of this season or at some point in the future. I have this feeling, as I've had pretty much from the moment we knew this was going to be the storyline, that something bad was going to happen in their attempt to save her, with someone dying or her remaining captive or her being saved only to be captured again later on. We've had many close calls with this thus far, and the clock is still ticking on certain characters who may still cark it. And yes, we have to have somewhat horrible and nasty happen with Mirio losing his quirk, and I have to be honest with you, whilst I'm not baying for blood, and I don't believe that the only way you can have any kind of emotional or dramatic weight to something is to have someone die or make a heroic sacrifice, I feel that with stories like this, for it to be wrapped up so easily, Mirio losing his quirk notwithstanding, it would feel odd to me, and I'm not sure as as to whether or not I'd find that satisfying. Yeah, I want superheroes to be superheroes. I want to see superheroes saving the day. I'm sick of the angsty, depressing, existential superhero movie and movie trope. I want to see superheroes saving the day. The other night I saw Shazam for the first time and it was brilliant. It was really great to see a superhero actively going out of their way to save people. It was great, it was brilliant, and I want to see that more in movies and TV shows. But with this particular season of My Hero Academia, it's far darker than we've had previously. So to have an ending to this story arc that doesn't have to come with some kind of negative repercussions of some description beyond just Mirio losing his quirk would feel odd to me. Like, she's either going to have to remain captive or someone's going to have to die. Maybe both. Something has to happen here. But I don't know. Maybe you think differently. Again, comment, subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff and let me know where you think this is going to go with. Though, bearing in mind, I ain't read the manga, so I ain't looking at this from the perspective of spoilers and stuff. I'm looking at this totally blind. So that's my general impressions of the episode itself. We're now going to move into the overview, what I thought of it as a whole, as well as some of the negatives and such. So let us go into that now. Okay, so my overview, my overall feelings of the episode itself, and ultimately I have to say that this, and I hate to say it, is a very fine episode. I really hate describing stuff as being fine. It's like describing something as nice. It feels like a very weak word to describe something, especially something you did enjoy. However, I can't lie to you. This episode isn't as good as the ones we've had previously. It's not bad by any stretch or means of the imagination, but looking at the composite components that make it up, the fight sequences, they're not quite as great as the ones we've had previously, not as good as the ones we've had with Kirishima or with Sun Eater, even though I feel that one, despite the promise of it, just ended up boiling down to him punching people very hard. At the end of the day, it doesn't, for all the excitement within it, it doesn't feel exciting enough for me. I feel as though more could have been done there. I think the whole revelation that Sir Nightie's visions aren't set in stone as to what happens in the future is something that is either me mistranslating it or misunderstanding it, or is something that really should be explored or mentioned in greater detail than has been discussed or shown within this episode itself. I feel that more could have been done with this, bearing in mind that we're getting into the final stretch of this particular part of the story arc, and possibly the whole story arc itself being wrapped up, that it feels as though we need something to really wrap the episode off and make it a little bit more bittersweet than I think it's going to get. Sure, Mirio losing his quirk is going to be sad and all, but maybe it needs a little bit more than that, but we'll soon see. As for the episode itself, other issues that I have with it, look, these are greater ones, these are more existential ones. I don't feel that 20 minutes is enough to do a program like this. I feel it has to be more. At least half an hour for a program like this. Yeah, if you include ad breaks and stuff, it probably is half an hour. But I'm talking about content. I'm talking about the show itself. 20 minutes is not enough. Yet, within the spectrum of broadcasted animation, 20 minutes is the standard. But with a program like this, yeah, there's a lot you've got to pack into an episode, which just means more exposition and more delivering of dialogue to try and translate and to get across to the audience things that otherwise would be able to be easily spread out in a longer episode. But of course, this is a problem that isn't going to go away anytime soon, if ever. And of course, I still feel that there are better ways in delivering the narrative, the story, and the themes within this program itself than just flashbacks and exposition and speeches and monologues and duologues and stuff. Yes, that's how I feel about it. The problem is, of course, is that I'm not someone who grew up with anime. Yes, I watched Dragon Ball Z and the like back when I was a teenager, back when I was around 11 or 15 or whatever, but with that in mind, I've not grown up with these quirks, with these traits, with these tropes of anime, so I'm looking at this with fresh eyes, and I'm looking at this with someone with the history of working in theatre and radio and having a master's degree in script writing. My point of view will always be different than someone who's just watching this as an anime fan, or who's watching this as a fan of the manga who's decided to watch the anime for the first time, or someone who has a long history watching animes of different types and different styles. My point of view will always be different. That's not to say my point of view is better because I've watched this with a master's degree on my wall or anything, but it's always going to be different. and what I would do to change this program, some would argue probably isn't right. It probably isn't good. It probably changes it to the point it stops functionally being an anime and it just has anime as an art style. But that's a whole other discussion. But to not dwell on this too long, I want to know what you thought, dear viewer. What did you think about this week's episode of My Hero Academia? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you shortly, either directly in the comments themselves or towards the end of next week's video, where they'll be included as part of a broader discussion. Be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell, and do all the stuff that YouTube wants you to do, because YouTube is scary these days, and YouTube wants me to do these things, otherwise it will shut me down, or some other apocalyptic statement that's going around the internet at the moment. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.